shout out to Jins G and Tutku. Thank you very much for subscribing to my channel. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for regular uploads and your chance to be included in shout outs for future videos. Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're making more ocean bars. As you know, that's just something I really love making. This is the 95% coconut oil, 5% shea butter recipe, and I use 100% ocean water. As you see me make in the past. I get my ocean water from Norrie Headsea in New South Wales, and I've put 2% sugar in there and 1% sodium gluconate. I actually blended with a stick blender right here the sodium gluconate into the water before adding the lye. I really made sure it was dissolved because it can take a while for the sodium gluconate to dissolve properly. So I made sure I gave it a good stick blend until it was fully dissolved. It takes about a minute. And I have been using sodium gluconate just to try in citric acid's place. So I use 1% sodium gluconate, and it's supposed to be a much better chelator than citric acid on its own. But I decided to leave out the citric acid and try sodium gluconate in previous batches of the Unscented bars. I made my first batch about 4 weeks ago now, but I tested the offcuts a few days after making it, and I have to say, because sodium gluconate is actually conditioning as well, not like sodium citrate, so it actually adds conditioning benefits on top of being a chelator. So that's actually a really unique standpoint for using sodium gluconate in cold processed soap. And I just found that it's just really beautiful in soap. It actually really does make a difference. And you've probably heard me say before, when I went to 2% citric acid for the body, I found that it wasn't as conditioning. I felt a little bit more on the drying side. So when I cut back to 1% citric acid, it rectified that issue. But now, actually using bars with sodium gluconate in it, I am a big fan. And I'm actually thinking about using sodium gluconate actually in all my bars, like for the body. And just making it part of Dawn Organics range. I think that's probably the route I am going to take. I just find it's great in the shower. It functions just like citric acid, does add hardness to the bar because it is a salt, and yeah, it's just fantastic. I did have a problem with my first batch I made a few weeks ago of the Unscented bars. It got a little bit too hot for the mold, so it was gelling in the middle of the soap. And it's been very hot here in Sydney, very humid. It was, I think, 35 degrees that day, and the oils and the lye water was about the 40 degrees Celsius mark. But today, I've learned that lesson. Today's not overly hot. I think it's 30 degrees today, so not too bad. So the oil's at 32, the lye's at 36. So I'm just going to wait for them to come down a few more degrees because I don't want them to overheat I don't want them to gel, period, in the mold. And the reason why is because around, around the corners of the bar, it was hard, but inside it was really soft. So when I actually went to take the mold out, the bars in the middle of the mold was still really soft. So as I was log splitting them, they kind of were, like sticky. Like it was like literally like a paste, like a jelly paste. And as you see, yeah. And if you're on the Dawn Organics group, I already shared that as well. But I have been using them in the shower and the offcuts too. Absolutely divine, beautiful. I'm very glad that I've moved back to virgin coconut oil, and the sodium gluconate really does make a huge difference. So at low temperature or lower temperatures, especially when it's summer, and especially when doing 100% coconut oil with ocean water. Oh my gosh, yeah. So, and I think it didn't help, because when you look at adding fragrance, so I add usually 5% essential oil blend. So that's 200 grams of fragrance in 4 kilos of oil. So when you take the fragrance away, it's really just soap in the mold, isn't it? So I felt like that contributed it to overheating as well, because there was 200 grams missing, because it's unscented. So I think that's one of the big reasons as well, plus being hot as well, and the ambient temperature being hot, because it was a very hot day here, plus as well as me not allowing the lye water and the oils to cool down more. This is just the sodium lactate 1.2% and natural vitamin E. I still add sodium lactate to these bars because coconut oil is fairly water soluble, and I want to make sure that it lasts as long as possible in the shower. And of course I still add the natural vitamin E because I love the skin conditioning benefits it adds to the bars, as well as preventing DOS. And not that I would have any DOS issues, because I use very, very fresh oils. There's like more than 2 years expiry on the current coconut oil and even the shea butter I have. But I like to be extra cautious because I do sell my products, so I'm always happy and willing to add some sort of antioxidant to my bars. So I'll just scrape all these, and these are so good. I bought these silicone scrapers from Amazon. I think it was like a 4-pack for $10, which is pretty good. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. Very straightforward recipe. And I thought I would just create, like a unscented bar, because I actually don't have unscented ocean water bars, and it really does make beautiful soap. So I have been using this in the shower. I tend to use these bars in summer, and I tend to use higher olive oil bars in winter because my skin's dry in winter, and my skin has been very, very oily this summer, especially because of the humidity, and it doesn't leave my skin dry, which is great. This is why these are just fantastic. The ocean water is just, with the coconut oil, it just makes such an amazing soap. So if you haven't tried ocean water in soap, it doesn't have to be pure coconut oil. It can be whatever oils you like. You just absolutely must try ocean water. It is fantastic in any soap recipe. Doesn't matter what it is. You just need to have good lathering oils in your recipe, because salt water can, well, it's not that it can. If you're using pure ocean water in your bar, it will hinder the lather if you don't have high coconut oil. So at least, I would say, at least 20% coconut oil in your recipe, accompanied with castor oil. And if you're using, obviously making this recipe, well, then you don't need to add castor oil, because it is largely coconut oil. So in here I've got my ultra concentrated coconut milk as well that I prepared myself, and I've got the 3% Ivory clay in here. I'm going to blend it all well together before adding the lye in, and it's at 20% super fat. And that's it pretty much. And I will say that I mentioned this before, moving back to virgin coconut oil, and I know I asked this question in the Dawn Organics Facebook group, but I find my skin is really sensitive. It just notices differences in oils, and even with citric acid percentages, I can tell, and my skin can tell too, it doesn't feel as conditioned when the citric acid is above 1%, and when I'm using refined coconut oil versus virgin coconut oil. And you've got to think, like with virgin coconut oil, even if it's organic, when they filter it to make it refined, what's left behind is heavier elements, and it's actually physically there. So that's actually been left out of refined coconut oil. And the melting temperature is a little bit different too. The RBD generally is liquid at room temperature around 26 degrees, and I find that the virgin coconut oil is liquid around 30 to 32 degrees Celsius. So they do have different melting points as well, and just that extra hard, that extra heavy stuff that's in the virgin coconut oil, I find just really feeds the skin, and it's just amazing in soap. So I'm just really glad that I went back to extra virgin olive oil in my recipes, and I'm just really glad that I went back to virgin coconut oil, because it really does make a huge difference. Well, for me anyway. Some people don't notice, but I'm just going by like my experiences, and even, you know, my family as well, and some other soapers I know that say that they have realized the difference as well. But purely I'm going by, let's just focus on my coconut ocean bars. And despite people saying, oh, you know, I've tried 20%, you know, before, you know, coconut oil, and it's really drying, I've never ever had that complaint with these bars. I've only ever had, wow, I never knew coconut oil soap, pure coconut oil soap can be so conditioning, or it actually made my skin feel conditioned. So those are the two feedback I get from these bars, so which is always great to get positive feedback. And I just find that I'm really happy that I moved back to the unrefined version. So anyway, enough of that. Very straightforward soaping today. No designs, plain color. There's just something really special about unscented plain soaps. They just sometimes just hit the spot, and sometimes you just want a nice unscented bar to use in the shower. And by all means, I am not disappointing myself with this bar. It is absolutely beautiful. And I'm going to stop yakking now, and I'm going to head off. I'm going to start making the soap now. Everything's at the appropriate temperature. And yes, so thanks for tuning in again for another soap recipe, for another ocean soap bar making video, and see you at the end.